Meeting to order.
Time.
Mr. Clerk, would you please take roll call?
Dave Abdallah.
Here.
Bill Bazey.
Here.
Robert Constant.
Here.
Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Here.
Denise Melanowski Maxwell is absent. Ray Muscat.
Here.
Tom Wenzel.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you.
Madam.
I'd like to ask Council Secretary Lynn to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Next, we have the approval of today's agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
thank you. I move to approve the order of business October 23rd, 2018, regular meeting at Dearborn Heights City Council as presented.
Support.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of October 9, 2018.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we approve the minutes from October 9th, 2018, regular meeting of the Dearborn Heights City Council as outlined in item 4A.
Support.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have public hearings and comments on agenda items only. Please limit this to items on the agenda only. And please come up to the podium, state your name, address, and limit your comments to 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Zuhair Abha, 354 Rosemary. I want to talk about item 11A. I like to read a couple sections from our charter. Sections 5.3, duties of the mayor. L and M. The mayor, he shall exercise and perform all the administrative functions of the city that are imposed by law, this charter, or by any other city ordinances or resolution not inconsistent with the provisions of this charter. M, he shall have such other powers and perform such other duties as may prescribed by law, this charter, or as may be required of him by ordinance or by direction of the city council. I'm just wondering why we have to pay to write an ordinance to put the seal on our cars when there was a resolution passed by the city council, and it is the duty of the mayor to obey that ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning, Council. Deputy Chief Health Attorney with the Police Department. Coming on 11A also. Having to do with some wording in the reference to police vehicles. The current wording would restrict or inhibit effective police operations. Some of our vehicles aren't used in that undercover capacity. We have about 15 to 18 vehicle and officers that use plain marked cars to do their job. Marking them would create an issue for their officer safety, creates an officer safety issue for them. So before we get into approving second and third readings, we need to consider the wording of that section.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Should not be marked.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have fund transfer and current claims.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move that fund transfers and current claims number 1 through 34 be approved as outlined in item 6.
Support.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Councilman,
I have a few. First one is I'd just like to know on 6-1 if these are reimbursements or is this work done because of, we had some water damage problems for A-Land construction sidewalk work completion for a total of $14,201.
That was a cement repair done because of water main breaks.
Okay, that's, I want to know if they were going to be, if that was a reimbursement or water main problems. Thank you. The other one I have is on 6-8 for auto parts again. We're buying a lot of auto parts for brake jobs and things of that nature. As I read other invoices, we usually send cars out to get brakes done on vehicles. Why are we buying auto parts? Why are we buying brake parts for cars? And I don't even know what vehicles they go on.
We have a mechanic in the yard, and he does the work, but he does not, the police vehicles are what we usually send out for the work, and fire department also.
So
I'll let you...
so all other vehicles are handled in-house?
Yeah, the DPW vehicles, brakes, oil changes, all that stuff's handled in-house.
All right, thank you very much. That's all I have.
anyone else before I? Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
I had a question for DPW on item number 615. I just wanted to get a clarification. This was the one that was at Warren Avenue near the school, is that correct? The $19,835 amount?
Yes, that was a water main break by the Hype Center.
Oh, by the Hype Center?
Yes, the water main break was close to the river, and we don't have equipment to dig that deep. And because it was so deep, they had to short it and everything else. It was emergency repair that had to come up at the last minute because that day the Hype Center had no water because of the water main break.
Got it, thank you.
Anyone else? Again, I still have concerns or issues on, I know at the last week's study session, we discussed the TPOM issues with cutting grass. We see one of the invoices popped up today. Also, some contractors need to figure out what we're going to do about sending out for bids. We discussed that before. Some of them have poor quality, and because want to discuss it offline, I'd be more than happy to. Those are still my concerns. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's me. Next, we have reports from city official. First, we have Treasurer Riley investment of funds reports for September 30, 2018.
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Mr. Chair, I move that we receive, note, and file the investment of funds report dated September 30th, 2018.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Abdullah. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have Comptroller Vance payroll system conversion.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we concur with Linda Vance, Comptroller for the city, She's asking the process of replacing ADP with Paylocity for the payroll provider. In order to utilize the time card feature of the software, they need to purchase 10 tablets with mounting harnesses and appropriate cabling, and she is requesting the approval to purchase these tablets and any necessary accessories with the estimated purchase cost of $6,000 as outlined in item 9B.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Muscat. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Council Chair.
Councilman
We're
Muscat?
getting an approximate cost on this. We're not getting a solid cost where it went out for RFP. So, I mean, if we could just, since it's 10 at $6,000, not to exceed $60,000. 10 times 6, so we can just add that in, not to exceed 60,000. Now, is that 6,000 each?
Total 6,000.
Oh, total, okay, I'm getting 10.
I don't have an estimate, now I have something closer, but because the time is of an essence, he gave me just some roundabout numbers for tablets. Tablets are gonna cost about $200 each. I need 10 of them. I'm gonna need a mounting harness, which is about $200 each, and then we need, I don't know if you wanna call it a router or something to enhance our Wi-Fi capabilities so the tablets will work, which is another $150. So that'll be right at that 6,000 range.
Okay, so if we put it not to exceed 6,000, that would be...
Not to exceed 6,000.
I took it as they were $6,000 each.
No, the whole project
I was
is
reading it, I'm sorry.
$6,000 is what I anticipate that it'll be.
Okay, well, yeah.
Councilman Hicks.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I'm just curious, going from ADP to Paylocity, what are the benefits of that? I imagine there's a reason, because you've been with ADP for a while, I would think.
The service with ADP was substandard when I came on board. They told me it would take 3 days for me to get a login and a password. It took me 6 weeks. I found it problems, and I could never get answers. Elizabeth had issues. John initiated this time card process with ADP, and since I couldn't get them to even communicate what the project entailed, I decided that I was going to go out, and between me, Elizabeth, and Josie in my office, we interviewed several companies, and we found that Paylocity will be the best. It will help with the audit, because then we'll be able to process the accruals properly. It's going to eliminate a lot of personal error because it's all computer generated, so we will no longer be getting paper time cards and paper time off slips, and it'll streamline everything, which will help everything be more efficient. And there's a decent cost savings between ADP. I brought a spreadsheet with some specs for the parts, but our initial spreadsheet calculation is ADP was costing us about $105,000 annually to process the payroll with that new system that they were going to give us. And Paylocity is only going to be anticipated about $77,000. So that's where I'm thinking that the pay savings will cover the tablets easily this year's budget, and we won't even have to do an amendment.
And just a quick follow-up, because that's good, by the way. I was curious why the switch. I do appreciate the notes and the comments. Are you familiar with any city that has used Paylocity and had something to add to it that you thought was beneficial, beyond what you've already just said?
I don't know
from your
about
interviews?
cities. This was a recommendation from the benefits group through Plant Moran, because it will interface with all of the retirement benefits that Elizabeth uses the software. It was one of the only softwares that would interface with it. When we went out and interviewed companies, the other company that was in line for it, we couldn't get references from anybody that was saying anything positive about them, where with Paylocity, we had municipalities. I think they just did Flint. They're doing Washtenaw County right now, so they do government. They're very good with the union contracts, and since we have quite a few, they came highly recommended, so that's why we chose them.
Thank you.
Councilman Abdullah.
Just want to say congratulations, good job on saving the city $30,000, $40,000, so very good job there. But I just want to get a clarification. You mentioned in regards to the tablets, you needed harnesses and what have you. That's all encompassing?
Yeah, it'll be six. Yeah, it's about what IT Dearborn IT estimated is it's going to cost me about $600 per tablet installation. That will be the tablet, the mounting harness thing that'll mount it on the wall, and the necessary wiring and router or whatever the little gizmo is that he's going to give me.
The reason I'm bringing that up, and if it might be a little bit more, so this way you don't have to come back to the council, would it not make sense to maybe to say, not to exceed maybe 6,500?
And that would be great. I just was trying to get this
I don't
done.
want to slow down the process, what I'm saying, over $300, $400, $500.
Okay, that would be awesome if you,
6,500, is that plenty enough?
yeah, that should probably be plenty enough.
So, Ray, are you okay with amending it? to be up
Yeah,
to
if somebody
6,500?
if you, the motion maker amends it, and I'll support it.
Yeah, because this is just an estimate that he gave me.
Okay. Then I motion that we amend the amount on item 9B not to exceed $6,500.
Okay,
Support.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good
Councilman
idea.
Muscat with Councilman Wenzel.
Is there going to be any additional training that's required by the staff?
Yes, it's included. We've already started some of the training because it's going to be electronic time cards. We've had a good number of the supervisors already come in for the first training to see the preliminary. I'm supposed to get the database within the next week, and then all the employees are going to get notification on where they log in, where they can, that's where they'll go in. They have the capabilities of logging in through a computer, through their smartphone, or the tablets that we're going to have located in most of the facilities. So they will have that, and then they will get a training on how to do their end as well.
So these
A lot of it's
tablets
webinar.
are going to be sort of like a time clock.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Sort of.
literally a Samsung Galaxy, but their software's going to be there, and it's going to be mounted, and then, yeah, you'll put in your last 4 digits of your Social Security number, and then it'll bring up your information only. You'll be able to request time off from that tablet. You will be able to put in your clock in. You will be able to change your federal and state deductions and other payroll deductions and apply for a city job on it. It's going to streamline the whole process. Even when the hiring comes through, when that module is complete, they will completely go electronically applying and filling out all those forms, and it'll go directly to Human Resources, so it'll be a time savings as well for her department.
Sounds good.
Okay, my question, actually, you said you put in your last 4. Is it password protected? Since, I mean, somebody might get somebody else's last 4. Is there also an additional safeguard, like a password?
You're going to have, I think when you log in, you create a password and stuff, and then you're going to have, like you see a lot of them banking, you're going to pick an image that's only your image, so when you go in or whatever, you'll see the matching of the image, I believe. Okay. I haven't seen it fully operational yet, but from what the little bit that I did see, each employee will eventually create their own login and password and everything to that extent, and you'll have your own little security picture, whatever, you know, how you pick a picture. And so that I would think would be part of it, but I can check into that farther to make sure.
Please, thank you. That's all I have. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have on agenda Fire Chief Brogan, permission to dispose of equipment.
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks-Clayton.
Thank you. I move that the City Council concur with Fire Chief David Brogan and grant permission to dispose of the equipment, which is attached on the back, and I won't read that, but I can say as outlined in 9C.
Support.
Seconded by Councilman Constant. Any discussion? The only question I have, Chief, what are we going to do with the equipment? I know it's been disposed. Are we trashing them or giving them away, or?
Well, it depends on what it is. Some of it we might try to recycle. We're just going to, it won't be part of our inventory anymore. We may even try to sell some of it, but we're going to just get rid of most of it. Some of the hose may have some value, but for the most part, either we're going to recycle it, donate it, or throw it away.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks-Clayton.
For you, Fire Chief Brogan, you mentioned the fire hoses. Are those, I know there's certain standards they have to meet to use them. Are they beyond those standards where they don't meet the requirements?
Yeah, we test the hose every year, and it was still passing the test that we were doing, or else we would have taken it out of service. Yeah. However, it's most of that hose is 25, 30 years old. Some of it's even older than that, and so it's had its useful service. So if we may be able to donate some of it, like I said, we're going to go through and see before we throw it all away.
I know you have a firefighter that makes those fabulous flags, by the way.
Right.
That uses the hose. I just want to put that out there. So you might think about that
Sure.
depending on the hose. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have Parks and Recreation Deputy Director Constant Smart Contract.
Mr. Chair?
Councilman Abdullah.
Concur with Deputy Director Kim Constant, recommending the City Council authorize the mayor and the city clerk to sign 3 copies of the municipal and community credit contract for the year 2019. And this will be the City of Dearborn Heights will be receiving $56,810 in municipal credit monies and $82,844 in community credit monies, as outlined in item 9D.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton. Any discussion?
Have a comment from,
Can you also add to that, to have the mayor sign the 2018 TAM rule compliance signature page?
Okay, I'd like to...
Amendment.
Okay, I'd also like to add on this that the City Council authorized the mayor to sign a 2018 TAM rule compliance signature page and mail it to Melissa Hightower of SMART, as outlined in item 9D.
Also have the mayor and the clerk sign the amendment for the 2018 contract. That's in here too.
Okay, in addition to signing the amendment for the 2018 contract.
That's it.
As outlined in item 9D.
Support.
Supported by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton. Mr. Miyake?
Thank you. It should also be not just to authorize them to sign, but it should be for them to approve, that the city council approves these items.
I think, everything in 9D, that's why it's just
outline.
Yeah, because I said outlined in 9D, that would encompass everything.
So everything is in 9D.
Actually, well, there's nothing that says about approval.
Okay, I could add on there, and to approve the said item.
Support.
Yes, it's already supported. You haven't-
Supported by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Fine.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have Police Deputy Chief Volta Tony, Viper 911, Upgrade and Payment West Side Solutions.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Nuskat.
I move council concur with our mayor to approve the payment to West Safety Solutions Corporation for upgrading of the Viper 911 to meet standards necessary to be compatible with the next generation 911 standards, as outlined in 9E.
Support.
Supported by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
Just for a correction, it's by Dan Volta Torney.
Well,
Get it? I get it? Deputy Chief, I'm sorry.
oh, okay.
Deputy
Thank
Chief
you.
Volta
I'm
Tony.
sorry.
Like a year to get it.
Also, I'd like, just want to comment on this, and I don't know if I'm misspeaking on this. I had a conversation with the Deputy Chief. I didn't notice, but now is it okay to mention the residents having the capability to be able to text? Or is that okay?
Mention it, well,
Oh, too late now, yeah.
it's not in effect yet.
But
That's what we're moving to.
Yeah, but that's why I want to get a clarification, because I was trying to get a clarification from him, and he mentioned that this is what this is moving us to where residents can text 911, which is pretty good considering a lot of people use their cell phones nowadays.
We're moving to text, video imaging, what are the other capabilities? Live streaming issues to the police agency.
Right.
But this is all part of this is
mandated,
one
you
small
mentioned.
part of a bigger plan that we need to talk about.
Right. And we also had to, actually, technically, we had to pick one. Correct? Well, because you had 2 different items. One of them was upgrading, and the other option was...
So there's an upgrade to get us to 2020.
Correct.
In 2020, we have another issue where we're going to have to...
You mentioned higher expense.
Come to this body and talk about another increase in expense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Wenzel.
I have a question. You got my interest in this texting thing. What advantages does it have to text 911 instead of calling? Is it going to be slower?
No, if you're hiding underneath your bed and you don't want to talk to somebody, you need the police at your house, that's one option.
Okay.
But once we get to the point of being able to receive the text. So that's why somebody might text something when they can't speak to somebody.
Would this be more precise as far as the 911? Because sometimes I call 911 and it goes to Dearborn. You know,
Well,
does it depend on where you're
that's a different
at?
issue. So the precision will be increased depending on where you at, the cell tower locations, where they're bouncing off of. That is still an issue, but with the next generation, it's becoming more accurate.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have Police Deputy Chief Volta Attorney, Viper 911, Backup Power Service and Payment Vision Electric.
Mr. Chair?
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we concur with Deputy Police Chief Dan Voltattorni to asking the request for approval for services and payment for Vision Electric. And this quote is for a backup power for the new Viper 911 upgrade. And the state of Michigan is mandating that this be installed and that we must comply. And a quote from Vision Electric is for $4,900 as outlined in item 9F.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Constant. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have Public Service Administrator Zimmer, approval to scrap equipment.
Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I move council concur with Director Zimmer to scrap two 1999 F-150 pickup trucks and one 2001 F-150 pickup trucks as outlined in 9G.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Constant. Any discussion?
Council Chair.
Councilman.
Are we going to
Muscat?
get anything for these? Are we going to be able to, like, even a junkyard for $25 or $30 or whatever?
If we get anything, it's going to have to go to tow company to tow them out. We're expecting to break even. If we get any money to them, they'll go to the general fund, but
that bad, huh?
There's nothing left. There's nothing left of them.
I just was thinking in my head we could get maybe $30 a piece for them or whatever for just a way to steal.
We might get like 100 and a quarter for them, but it's probably going to be like 100 and a quarter in towing, so we'll probably go break even on it. We won't lose money. We probably won't gain money either.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Last on the agenda for city officials is Public Service Administrator Zimmer, asphalt repairs due to water main breaks.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Muscat. I'm sorry, Constant.
Close. I move we concur with our DPW Director, Bill Zimmer, and approve a contract with Best Asphalt with the lowest quote of $16,575 for the asphalt repairs due to water main breaks as outlined in item 9H.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Abdullah. Any discussion?
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
Is this the same company that did the Lewis Manor subdivision? Does anybody know?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Well, since we're on that subject, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. Anything new on that subdivision? Because I looked at that street, and I know Ray looked at that street. It's pretty bad. Anything new on that as far as them repairing the? Because we're getting pretty close to winter time, and then in the spring they're going to tell us, well, there's more cracks because of weather.
I do not have a schedule from the contractor yet when he'll come out and make the repairs.
But the concern, Dan, is obviously we're getting pretty close.
Right, it's getting close to winter.
Do we have any type of affirmation from them in writing that they'll take care of this in the spring and not bring up, because it's common in cement, sometimes a contractor will tell you, well, yeah, I did the work in October, but it's March now or April, and there's been some more cracks because of the weather. Could that be a possibility? I mean, is there a way we can commit right now to fixing it in the spring? And not bring up the weather excuse?
We can try, yes.
Because
I thought we had a commitment.
Uh-huh.
I thought we had a commitment from them.
They'll come out and work on it, yes, but
My concern, though, Councilman Ray, is, come June or whatever they come out, and they come out, and it's common in the cement business, and they're going to say to you, well, yeah, it wasn't this bad. A lot of these cracks or problems or issues are because of the weather-related, so therefore we're not going to cover it. So to me, I'd rather negotiate with them now to get them to commit to fixing it without the weather, condition.
well, we'll try to get them out this fall, if we can.
Yeah,
But we still-
we also got Silver Lane, or Haas that's got to be done, too.
That was a different company, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next, under ordinance and resolutions, we have the first reading of the proposed ordinance H-18-07, marking city-owned vehicles
Council
with
Chair?
seal. Councilman Muscat.
I move that council approve the first reading of ordinance H-18-07, marking of police car, our city-owned vehicles, as outlined in 11A.
Mr. Chair, I would second the motion if we could also add to that we need to discuss this ordinance in detail, move it to a study session as well, because I do agree the police vehicles that are used for other things.
It's here.
I understand, but there still needs to be discussion, because the other thing is, this was passed by resolution several months ago, which is legislation action by the legislative body.
Correct, and it stated in there
The fact-
exclusively
yeah.
police cars in that one. And this one says for undercover or traffic control operation. So it does state it in the ordinance.
I understand, but we've heard from our deputy chief, and I think there are some concerns that need to be addressed, and I think it's fair to talk about it with people. It's still accepting the first reading, and then the second reading, you can schedule the study sessions, and if the body approves and you approve to amend that motion, to have that discussion scheduled before the next council meeting, and then you'd have your second reading. It's not going to affect your timeline at all for passing this. It's just a recommendation.
Mr. Chair?
Councilman.
I agree with Councilwoman Lisa Hicks Clayton. I know there was some concerns the last time from the fire department also, and I know there's definitely some concerns, as we've just heard from the deputy chief from the police department, and we don't want to do anything that's going to infringe on what they do. I could definitely see in regards to other departments, I could see that. I have no problem with that. But in regards to fire, but most importantly, with due respect to the fire department, most importantly to the police department, I personally would like to hear more from them as far as what their concerns are, because I don't want nothing that's going to hinder, their process. And I don't mind either in a study session, like the councilwoman is saying, or at the very minimal, right now, if the deputy chief can fill us in a little bit more detail. Because I know you spoke during the public comments, but I'd like to be able to ask you some questions on that and hear a little bit more from you.
You're fine there.
Would you prefer, is it okay now?
Absolutely.
I'm good here.
I want to hear from these departments because they have concerns, or you wouldn't have been here and said that.
Right, so the wording in there is exclusively. So if you're looking at the ordinance, vehicles used exclusively by the police department for undercover or traffic control. I'm not sure what the ordinance means by the word undercover. For me, undercover means somebody that looks like anybody else in this room that is, doesn't look like a police officer. We have investigators and administrators that get in these cars, they go out to lunch, they go to meetings, they go out to investigate crimes, they go do follow-up investigations in the city and out of the city. And if you want somebody to talk to you, if you're a criminal and you're trying to get their story, at the last moment is when I want to identify myself as a police officer sometimes. And if I pull up in a car that says City of Dearborn Heights, and I'm sitting out in front of your house or a couple of doors over, sitting there waiting for you to come outside to talk to you, you're not going to come out and talk because, or you're not going to come outside so I could approach you because you see a police or a car out there that says City of Dearborn Heights, and if I'm a criminal, I might be paying attention and I don't want to go outside to talk to you. So the term undercover is what we're having issues with.
What would you like to have the wording say? Well, I mean, I had it in the resolution that it was exclusively used by the police department.
I didn't write this.
No, I understand that, but even in my resolution, I had put in that the cars that were exclusively used by the police department weren't subject to this. That was under their discretion only.
Well, if you want to change it to that, I don't have an issue with that.
Mr. Chair?
Mr.
So I see it
Miyake?
in writing and,
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would suggest, given the wording issues and the issues of the police department, that the matter be referred over to a study session. Then these issues could be addressed, and if necessary, the proposed ordinance could end up being amended. So my recommendation would be to have a clear second with regard to this, and either pass it as being first read and then do a motion to refer to a study session, or to include it in the main motion.
What I would recommend is we vote on it today for first reading. Before we can move it to a study session before the second reading, but we need a list of all the vehicles to include or to exclude.
I don't think we need a study session. I mean, the gentleman there said that he would be okay with exclusively by the police department. I mean, we can change the wording on that for the second reading, and it's under their discretion, as long as it's the vehicles they exclusively use themselves. Okay? How much better does it get than that? So
Why can't we, then if that's the case, after what we've heard, if we can agree, can that not be included in the motion now? Right? The language, clarity, by changing that wording.
Yeah.
You can do that now.
Mr. Chair.
Correct?
Councilman Abdullah?
Or another option for me, I would rather not get personally the police department involved in this particular resolution. I personally would rather leave it at their discretion.
Well, that's what I just said.
No, but I'm saying completely exclude the police department.
Well, that's why we put it in there, so the police department is complete exclusive of this at their discretion of
No, we just say excluding the police department. Of
the vehicles they use. That's all, that they exclusively use.
I know, but see, this says...
Because they can all of a sudden now just say, well, we're going to go get a water department truck. That's not marked.
Okay, but see, it says undercover. Okay, but then they may, and again, I don't know how they do their jobs, but they could be driving a car that doesn't have a decal on it, but yet they're wearing their uniform. So technically now they're not undercover any longer. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, but that vehicle's still under the police control.
Again,
so
I don't know how they do their, I'm sorry.
As long as their vehicle is under their control, they have possession of the vehicle. That's the vehicle that the police department uses for whatever reason they want to use it for. I don't care what they use the vehicle for, as long as they're the ones that use the vehicle.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Miyake?
Right now, as drafted, and Councilman Muscat and I went over this in my office, right now, the first line would mean it's used exclusively by the city's police department for undercover or traffic control operations. So if it's plain clothes, but the person is not undercover, namely, it's not like they're part of our undercover drug unit or some other sort of undercover unit, they would not necessarily be undercover, even though they're plain clothes, but they would be detectives as described by the deputy chief. So I think this issue is actually a bit more complicated than to simply say that it's a matter of they'll be fine with this wording. I think this wording is what the problem is for them right now, because exclusively undercover would be plain clothes and the person is potentially not involved or doesn't appear to be involved in any law enforcement activity whatsoever, as opposed to, say, the person was involved, as the deputy chief was saying, and they were going to interview a suspect or interview a witness for that matter. For example, if they were going over and it looked like it was a city vehicle, this could potentially jeopardize an operation by virtue of having someone who is obviously a police officer based on his vehicle talking to this person, and then this person having to be worried that he's going to be looking like he's a snitch because he's providing information to someone who's clearly a police officer when it wouldn't necessarily be obvious otherwise.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
Councilman Muscat, would you have a problem if this, I personally would have no problem with it, but would you have a problem with it if this was amended to exclude the police department from this resolution?
Well,
I'm talking about completely excluding, just leave it at their discretion completely.
Well, yeah, but that's why I wanted it to be exclusively, they're up to
But
them
it's
to do
not,
what
no,
they
no, no.
want their vehicle.
But I'm saying with that, we take that paragraph
I
out and just
understand
say
that.
excluding the
But
police
so
department.
we can pass this for the first reading and then do the study session.
Yes.
Because that's, I guess, is the consensus of everybody here.
So we can do the first, vote on the first reading today. We have a study session, then do the second reading afterward to exclude the
Yes.
police. Okay. But before we get to the study session, again.
If I could just say something real quick, I think it should be worded, it should be left to the discretion of the police chief.
And that's the way I originally wanted it to be, at your discretion.
And just the way it's worded, it's not, we interpret it a little different, that,
That's the way I originally wanted it to be, at your discretion or the police department's discretion of what to mark and what not to mark. I mean, that should be always for you and you alone.
the cars are interchangeable and,
Yeah.
you know.
But then with that, just, if you just exclude them from this resolution, that's the same thing. Then that's what that's it. It's up to them. They're not involved with this. There's no, that'd be easy, because I don't want to be personally a policeman to tell the chief how to run his cars and who's dressed in a police uniform, who's not dressed in a, because, like I mentioned, they could be in a police uniform, but yet and it be an unmarked car.
And I agree, but that's why I put it in there, so they would have that right to do what they wanted to do.
But and we could ask Council Gary Miyake, I'm just thinking, the simpler and easier way, in just plain English, just say excluding the police department, and then not include them in here, period. And then that's it, the rest is up to the chief, period. Anyways.
Fine.
Would you be okay with that?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I want to say I concur with that, because the other thing that crosses my mind is that they need to have cars that are unmarked, because this is also a safety issue for them as well. We want our police officers, undercover or not, they need to be safe, because we already know what the culture's like for them. So thank you for the comments. Thank you, Councilman Muscat, for working through this, because I think that language needs to be addressed, without a doubt.
Okay, so we'll vote on the first reading today. We'll go to a study session. We'll take out whatever language.
Yeah, we'll take out whatever language needs to be taken out.
So again, for the first reading, any more discussion?
Well, we have, I'm sorry, we don't have a second on the motion, but I would second it if you add in the motion, first reading, then also refer to a study session.
Yes.
You make that, I would second that, then you have your
I amend the
second.
motion to have the first reading, then move it to a study session.
And seconded by
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman
Thank you.
Hicks-Clayton. Councilman Constant?
Well, I just had a question for either our clerk and/or our city attorney. So can we amend it and have the first reading and then amend it again after the study session, or do we need to?
It's the same general ordinance. You can end up amending it before the second reading.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item, we have new business, permanent traffic control device, T273 stop sign westbound on Avondale at Beach Daily.
Mr. Chair?
Councilman Abdullah?
I'd like to concur with the chief of police to agree to add a permanent stop sign at the location westbound Avondale at Beach Daily. And the reasoning being is the Dearborn Heights Police Department has received complaints from residents about the speed vehicles on Avondale. A couple weeks ago, two vehicles were drag racing, which ended with one of them flipping over a house, and a fire I know was caused. And while the police department realizes that the stop sign may not prevent drag racing, hopefully it will help in reducing the speed of vehicles in that area. And this is an area that's residential, as outlined in item 13A.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Muscat. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Councilman Abdullah?
I'd just like to commend the police department. I know they had some complaints from some residents there, and as I mentioned, there was a car that flipped over and had a fire there. Unfortunately, certain, a lot of people have been, I guess, racing there because there's no stop signs. It's all completely open area. But after it was brought to their attention by some of the residents, I happened to drive by there and noticed a lot more police presence there. And I think this is, like the chief mentioned, this is at least it takes it in the right direction. It may not solve all the problems, but at least it takes it in the right direction. So I'm glad they're focused on the residents' concerns, and I thank them for that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have members of the comments from the council members.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
Can I just say something real quick? Did we skip number 7?
There was nothing on the agenda for 7.
Consideration of bids?
What are you referring to?
The consideration of bids for the...
Nothing.
There was nothing on there.
Nothing.
It didn't get on there?
Apparently not. I don't know what you're referring to.
For the 3 demo houses, I was...
There was nothing on agenda.
I did not see anything.
Okay.
And I don't even know where it's at. So
Okay, it'll be on the next one then.
Morning.
Okay.
Did we add it on?
No, not right now. Councilman Muscat?
The street lights on Ford Road, they've been out for quite a while. Is there any reason why those lights are out?
There is, when they redid Ford Road, the contractor redid the sidewalks and tripped.
Yeah. No.
And so it's a complaint between DTE and the contractor, but DTE is convinced that they got in there and the way it was kind of described, because I am not an electrician, it's like Christmas lights for one, and it's causing the whole line.
They're on series. Not.
But that's what DTE told us, and we're asking them and begging them to get it done.
And the other thing, and I should have called this in, but I keep forgetting, and I just remembered it tonight. And when it rains, there's a, I don't know if it's a clean out cover or a sewer cover behind the bank, Charter One Bank on Cherry Hill and Inkster and the adjoining buildings right there at Cherry Hill, just that would be just east of Inkster Road. I tell you what, that place is always flooded after a rain. If somebody could go out there and take a look at what's going on there, why the water isn't draining down that sewer cover. That's it for me.
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks,
I will add to the conversation about the lights because I've been corresponding with the government liaison for our city since August regarding the Ford Road corridor along with Warren Avenue. And they have addressed many lights. They've replaced over 30 that were out, but the stretch, like the mayor said, has to do with something that has cut the circuit there. And I'm meeting with her tomorrow, by the way, on that. So I want to reassure our residents it is being addressed. They said it's a priority for them. They've moved it up, so we'll have an update probably by tomorrow afternoon. But I'd like to, Mr. Chair, if I may continue, I have a question. On October 11th, at the City Council meeting, the City Council unanimously approved a resolution to amend the economic development with the Community Development Block Grant monies. And I wanted to see if we can get an update regarding that, because that was to amend the 2018-19 action plan, and this is for Eaton Senior Center Rehabilitation Project. Do we have an update what's going on there? The second thing I have is something was said there at that meeting that I have a question on, where the comment was made that somebody from Parks and Recreation Department would have to submit a proposal. And my concern is, or my question is that when we did the Berwyn, for example, windows project, to the best of my knowledge and what I've researched, that did not happen. There was not a proposal submitted by the Parks and Recreation Department. So in this case, are you still expecting the Recreation Department to do so? Or how is it different from what we did with Berwyn? So those are my two questions on that. And then I have one more thing after that, because I have an email here that concerns me a little bit. And I'm sure all the council members received this, but I think we need to talk about it a little bit, because I have, and in particular, the last paragraph bothers me greatly. So if we can get the questions answered about what is being done, what has been done since the resolution passed. That was the first question. The second question is about the proposals being submitted by Parks and Recreation. Is there anyone who can answer that this evening?
can answer what's been done so far.
Okay.
Basically, we've been working on the tile. We did the abatement last Friday. We abated more areas than I originally thought we were going to have to because I looked into a bunch of the additional closets where there was water damage from the roof and found a couple more areas. So we had to order some more tile, and Mr. Blackburn's crew was going to finish that up. But it looks like within this week and next week. They're going to start working on one of the full rooms this week. We also had the ramp done, and that looks really nice, and they replaced the cement for the sidewalks as well. On October 31st, or the 30th or the 31st, I can't remember exactly which date, we're having the automatic door openers replaced. We're having the standing unit out front, and we're having the hand unit on the wall put in. And then after we get the tile finished, the big thing is to start working on the ceilings. So,
any progress, or have we heard anything with like the bathrooms, which is what talking about the action plan, and again, this is for a community development block grant. Anything progress with that? Are you required to submit a proposal? Because that did not happen with Berwyn. That's my understanding.
In regards to the windows, you asked if Parks and Recreation submitted a proposal, and we did not for the windows at Berwyn. As far as the bathrooms, I'm not clear on that because I think that is something that Mike Blackburn is handling.
Okay.
It has an expertise that I don't have, obviously.
Yes, and certainly something like that may not be an in-house job because of the specialty of that. But we also talked about the cost previously, which I know Councilman Winslow had shared some insight into that. So I'm just curious, are we making progress since this resolution has been passed? And again, I will remind everyone, this is a legislative action, so therefore this body passed it unanimously. So we hope that is done in the best interest of our senior centers and our residents who use them.
In regards to the bathrooms, I think basically we've just had, I know one of the seniors had a plumber come in, and Mr. Blackburn had a plumber come in, and we just have kind of verbal information at this point, and we don't have anything in writing as far as a proposal goes.
Right, thank you.
There are 2 bathrooms that really need to be done first. Those are the ones that you enter in off the entryway.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the update. The last thing I have is,
I'm sorry. Since you meant you up there, Deputy Director, what's up with the different tile sizes, different colors?
The different tile sizes, they don't make 9-inch tiles anymore, so we had to go to 12-inch. We didn't have a choice. We could have gotten, and I talked to one of the maintenance workers today that was actually doing the installation. You would have to cut them down, and that we've had some of those done that way before, and it looks awful. So basically, you can't get 9-inch tiles anymore. So that's what the deal
and
is.
if I may, real quick, since you kind of went right there to that email, I'm sure why you were asking the question. I guess what I want to say...
And as far as the colors go, you can't match what's in there as well.
Because they're so many years old and you're trying to match the different,
and then the other thing, too, is the thickness is different from the asbestos tiles to the regular tiles.
Yes. I just want to say something on the last paragraph that actually disturbed me greatly, and I'm sure others feel the same way. It basically is stating... it's easy for me just to read it, talking about dealing with different people in the city. One thing seems to be very clear: everyone has their own agenda. Everyone is making decisions that's best for themselves and their positions. And I am really disturbed by that, by the way, because this is not a political agenda thing. This is about doing what's best for our residents. This is what we're elected to do. This is what the charter clearly states. I feel very firmly about that, and that disturbs me that there's conversations happening that maybe, we can't control that, but I want to reassure people this is what we're elected to do. We are civil servants. We serve you. Okay, it's not the other way around. It's not about us. It's about all of you. So there should never be personal agendas anywhere when it comes to being a public servant. And I just want to leave it at that. Thank you.
If I might, through the chair, I totally agree. When I saw that, I was greatly disturbed. That's why I think it's extremely important that we get the best recreation director now that Mr. Greibel has retired, that we can possibly get. And I think we need to, as a group, talk about the salaries, because we had an individual come in that I think was pretty qualified, and when HR told him what the salary was, he or she did not even submit the resume. So I am getting some resumes, but most of the people, when they put in their current salary, we're not even near it.
May I have a question for that? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, may I?
Go ahead.
Just real quick, the positions that are open right now, and there's a couple department heads we're talking about, right? Are those posted where, on the website or wherever you post? I know MML has a, network as well. Are we doing that?
No, because, I'll defer to HR, but we're being told that the salaries are not competitive in other communities, smaller communities where people are looking for advancement. They are not interested in applying. We posted the recreation one. I put it at, what was it, 70,000, and there was some objection to that. But I'm telling you, the going rate for a recreation director is 70 or 75,000. In the same way, in the building department, I talked to one of the individuals that works there right now. He would take a huge pay decrease to take the position. So we have to look at these replacements, and if we want good people, I think we need to do it. I'll let HR talk further on it.
The recreation director position was posted. It was posted in the papers. It was posted on MML's website. The pay was amended after our discussion, and it was posted on Indeed. It's posted a couple places. We try to target, so for Department of Public Works, when we do go out for that director position, we will try to target, the audience. And it would be MML as well. But, we are running into some competition. There are some comparable positions that are posted in other municipalities, and with greater support staffs around those departments, even some larger comparable communities, and the pay is substantially higher. So.
Thank you. Councilman Abdallah.
Just for the HR director, are we putting it on the website also, on our website?
We are.
Some have said they couldn't find it, so.
So, with the new website, I think we've worked out some of those kinks. So there was one part and it didn't link back to the HR department, and then I didn't have access to it, so we worked through those. So it is on, but like the recreation position, we did take off at this point, so that one is not posted at this point.
Okay, but the other department positions are on our website, correct?
So we have not posted yet for the Department of Public Works Director. That hopefully be at the end of the week. I was working to really hone in on those qualifications with regards to water distribution. That's one of the more important priorities, so.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman
I have a question for the director or the mayor. Has anyone internally shown interest and accepted, they accept the job at the current rate?
This is difficult to answer. I would prefer, and I would defer to Mr. Miyake for a closed session on this, because I've had discussions with some employees, and I'd be tipping, and I think it's good when people internally are interested in positions. I would not publicly want to disclose. If you called me privately, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it, but I don't think it's good for morale or other things, because the next question will be, and then I'd have to give you some positives or negatives maybe about a particular person. I just see that as a real trap that I don't want to get into. But I can tell you that there were two individuals who came in who I think all of us would share that would be excellent candidates for a couple of positions. And they both told me that they cannot take these positions because in one case it was a pay decrease, and the other one, in fact, in both cases, they'd be pay decreases, and they just can't afford to do that.
Any other council? Councilman Abdallah.
One quick announcement. I announced it the last time, but the the resident, senior resident called me again, and I had to, she negotiated with me and forced me to do this again, so, but I'm glad to do this for her. But again, she'd like to remind residents to try, if you can, be a good neighbor and don't park in front of other neighbors' houses, so that this way the neighbor, in this case her, and others can use the spot in front of their home for their own personal use, although people are allowed to park wherever they want. But I promised her I would mention it again. She's just trying to ask the residents to be good neighbors and allow others. The other thing, before I go to my next one, because the next one might be a discussion situation, I just want to commend our police department. I got contacted by some residents late one night in regards to some incidents in the city of Dearborn Heights, and I just want to commend them on working with the residents. I mean, I was having conversations with them pretty late at night. It's around 11 o'clock, I think, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and just want to commend them and thank them for working with the residents on working on resolving the issues, so good job. And the last thing, I want to get an update. There's been some questions in regards to the River Oaks subdivision pond situation. Obviously, it passed, I don't know, 2-3 months back or something like that. What's the status on that? Because the concern is from some of the residents in that subdivision is that we're obviously, it's almost over. You know, the winter season is about to start, and they're concerned about the fact that nothing's been started on that as of yet.
Well, we'll be having a meeting on, I believe, November the 8th is what's being confirmed. I haven't been able to get back to Ms. Kadri and Mr. Brooks and Mr. Zimmer to confirm the date, but we should be having a meeting on November the 8th where we'll be talking about the agreement that we've been negotiating with them, and then also the specifications. The idea would be that nothing's going to necessarily be able to be started in terms of actual, work, or I shouldn't say nothing will be able to, but the start will probably be more in early 2019, if Mr. Brooks can clarify or correct me if I'm...
If I get a clarification, because I thought we were in agreement and we voted on it.
We're in agreement, but we have to have an agreement with regard to that. We have to have the specs with respect to the work being done.
Because the concern from some of the residents is, I'll just be blunt and direct, that it's being dragged out. And that's what they're concerned about, that this has not happened. It started, off the top of my head, I think it was like April, May, or something like that, maybe even earlier, I'm not sure. But it's being dragged out, is what they feel. And it's not, I mean, they just feel like there's been one bump in the road after the other, and it's not been taken care of for them. So I just wanted to get a clarification on that. Is there...
Even though we haven't dealt with the special assessment in this city in decades, normally these processes take some time to end up playing out. As a matter of fact, when some people were discussing this matter, originally Mark Roberts, who's with Seacrest Wardle, who's one of my assistants, walked by me and he said, these people obviously haven't been through a special assessment before. These processes take more time. Sometimes you have to come back to the council and end up readjusting things depending on what ends up happening. This is not necessarily a really quick process, but we are in the process of working on it, and we will have a meeting on November.
Whatever focus you could give to that would be much appreciated by the residents. Thank you.
And I share their concerns in River Oaks, and I think this process has been going on for 3 or 4 years. It's much too long. It should have been done. So hopefully we can get this, hopefully we can get the bid specs up before the end of the year. Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't foresee a problem. We've actually discussed that with representatives of the association.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I had one more thing, if I
explain.
may. Thank you. Just one more thing, more of an announcement for families who may be low-income, food insecure. I manage a food pantry, but I wanted to tell folks that we are offering Thanksgiving dinner vouchers. It's a complete meal that feeds 4 to 6 members of a family or a group that we have available. I want to thank our partners through LAHC, as well as other private donors who are supporting supporting this project. And if you're interested in receiving one of these vouchers for Thanksgiving dinner, I need you to call me, please, 313-348-9848 before November 1st, or you can email me as well, which is Hicks, H-I-C-K-S, Clayton, C-L-A-Y-T-O-N, the number 4, D-H, City Council at yahoo.com. So please call me or email me, so that way we can get those vouchers into the hands of those who could benefit from it most.
Councilman Wenzel?
Yeah, a few things here. First of all, I want to commend one of our contractors, cement contractors, E&N Cement, the jobs they do around the city. I've checked them out several times. They're very efficient. They clean up well afterwards, do the landscaping they need to do. And I stopped and talked to them the other day, and they do all these big projects, but there's a 5-man crew, very efficient. And second of all, we had some issues with GFL. I've had complaints about different things, and I experienced some myself in the last 2 weeks where they're taking the garbage cans off the curb, off the grass area, dumping them, and setting them into the streets. It happened to me. I live on a corner. They set it right next to the storm drain. The street sweepers came by, went right around the garbage can, the storm drain. So I'm thinking maybe we should have them in quarterly or something and to answer citizens' questions. I'm sure everybody has, or a lot of people have remarks about their trash pickup. And next thing is, I was asked again to mention that Todd's Pharmacy on Ford Road in Beach Daily accept disposable prescription drugs there all the days that they're open and hours of operation. And another thing, myself, Councilwoman Hicks Clayton, and Councilman Abdullah had the honor the other day of witnessing 2 new police officers being sworn in, Officer Nick O'Donnell and Officer Tim Ellis. And both of them, I talked to both of them and their families, and they're so excited about being employed in the city of Dearborn Heights, and they're really gun-ho, and it's an honor to have them aboard with us. And last thing is, don't forget to turn your porch lights on. Thanks.
Mr. Council Chair?
Thank you.
To piggyback on that with the GFL, I noticed them picking up cardboard and putting it in the regular trash, which I thought was supposed to go into recycle. So I actually was talking with the truck driver, and he said that a lot of these large boxes like washer, dryers, refrigerators, they can't put them in the side loaders. So I want to tell people you got to cut these boxes up and bundle them up. But I also have seen GFL take the bundles and put them in the regular garbage too. So I don't know how we're going to handle that because, again, they can't take those cardboards and actually throw them over the top. So that's something that we would have to work on between the city and GFL, in all due respect to the drivers themselves. So cut up your boxes the best you can and put them in the cans. That way they can go to the proper place.
Acting Chair, if I might.
Mayor, please.
One of the things that I think it's always great when we have somebody internally kind of gets in a new position, and we have a new deputy controller, Shantae, and what I think I want to recognize her. I don't know how long you went to night school, but you have a accounting degree, and internally, I just think it's welcome, and don't ask her any tough questions till she gets a little bit more background, but we're glad that you decided to take that position, and I know you're going to serve the city well.
Thank you.
Clerk, do you have something, Clerk?
Please. We're 2 weeks away from the election. Absentee ballots are being issued on a daily basis. We've issued over 2,000 so far. I just want to remind folks, once again, if you have asked for an absentee ballot and you have not received it, call us. We send them out on the very same day you request them. We are getting phone calls today from people, phone calls all week from people. We actually sent the ballots out on October 4th, and they have not received them. So please, there are some getting lost. Call us if you have not received them. Once again, to reiterate, those of you who vote in 7 and 8 at Riverside, we will be using the cafeteria. That entrance will be the northernmost door on Beach Daily, right by Kennedy, near the light there. So you'll go in that door, you'll go straight down the hall, and make a left into the cafeteria for precincts 7 and 8. Please share that with your neighbors. Annapolis, we will be using the gymnasium. So you will be entering on the corner of Annapolis and, is it Eaton? I believe. Councilman Constant, is that Eaton? So you'll be entering there rather than further down the block, and you'll be going to the gymnasium there. You'll make a quick left.
I'm sorry, Clerk, did you say for Annapolis? 'Cause
Annapolis.
Is Annapolis and Williams?
Williams?
Williams Street.
The corner, that entrance there for the gymnasium, is that?
Annapolis and Clipper.
Clipper.
One of those.
Well, it's on the same side that you normally enter on, but just
Annapolis and Clippers.
right at the corner of Annapolis. Thank you. Berwyn, 16 and 17. Instead of using the southern area there, from the back entrance, precinct 16 and 17 will be voting in the cafeteria. And finally, at Polk, you normally come in the front of the building and that circular driveway, the back, it's actually the main entrance, but where the main parking lot is, that door will be open, and you'll have to, we'll have signs in the hallway, you'll have to kind of zigzag through, but you'll get to that. Two things just to note on Election Day. A few things to note. Once again, I'll reiterate that there is no straight voting this time. It will take a little bit longer. We anticipate a large turnout, We have hired as many poll workers as we can get. We have 5 at most polls plus student volunteers. So we'll have 6 at a lot of polls, 5 at most. Please be patient. Know that our poll workers only do this a couple times a year, and we train them and we give them the tools, but it's a long day, so please be patient with them. Lastly, the tabulators, folks. This new equipment has some peculiarities about them, and the tabulators are actually scanners. They take pictures of the ballot. So it takes longer for that ballot to get in the tabulator and get casted. So please don't stick your ballot in and run out on us, okay? We got somebody by the tabulator, but when you're coming to vote, make sure that it says ballot cast before you leave, because if there's a problem with your ballot, we want you to be able to get a new ballot. So with that being said, lastly, on a personal note, I would just like to thank from the city clerk's office and from myself, the 3 gentlemen that are retiring, Chief Lee Gavin, Director Greibel, and Emergency Chief of Staff, Mr. Ancrap. All 3 gentlemen have been a great asset to the city clerk's office. They have helped us immensely when we've asked for help and always been there for us, and when they help our city clerk's office, they have helped the city of Dearborn Heights. So I want to wish these 3 gentlemen the very best in their retirement. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you've done for our office, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Clerk. Now we have...
We'll follow up. Mr. Clerk, you said there's 2,000 requests for absentee ballots. Is that high? And the second question is there a deadline on requesting an absentee ballot?
Thank you. Thank you. There's actually over 4,000 requests. We've received 2,000 back already. The last day to apply for an absentee ballot is on Saturday at 2 p.m. Saturday before the election, so that'll be November 4th or 3rd, something.
November 3rd.
So it's not this Saturday, but a week from Saturday. So that deadline is 2 p.m. on the Saturday before the election. Emergency voting is considered on Monday, where you can come into City Hall if something has occurred between Saturday and Monday, which will impede you from showing up at the polls. You can get a ballot on that Monday. However, that cutoff is at 4 o'clock, and on that day, you must vote your ballot in City Hall. We will also be open the Saturday before the election for any needs on that day. So thank you, Councilman Wenzel, for reminding me of that.
Thank you, Clerk. Councilman Constant.
Thank you. This Saturday at the Richard Young Center will be the watershed stewards and the honor student volunteers, and hopefully others will be getting the rain gardens weeded and the chips put down and getting everything ready for the fall and winter, starting at 9 o'clock, and there'll be food and supervisors and cider provided. So if anybody can make it, I know Councilman Wenzel and I will be there. And just to echo what Councilman Abdullah said, parking in front of the house across the street or down the street regularly, I know in my block there was a house that had several residents, rented rooms in the where younger people would regularly park in front of my house. And I know in Hamtramck, for example, they've passed ordinances, and they would people would put up a orange cone to try to prevent neighbors from parking, because if you're in a household with multiple cars, or you have maybe children coming and visiting, or an elderly resident, that spot in front of the house should be for the owner of the house. So I know, I think Councilman Abdullah and I were both contacted by a resident in the South End who continually had a problem, and so it's worth mentioning and repeating.
Thank you.
Council Chair, just real quick to piggyback on that too, I'd like to ask Ordinance Director McIntyre. The other day there was a party, I believe, at Cherry Hill, and I'm going to say Plainfield. There's an empty lot there, and they were parking their cars in the empty lot. Is that legal?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Now we go to public community announcements.
Hello, Council Chair and Mayor. Just want to talk about a couple of quick items at the library. First off, tomorrow, Wednesday, October 24th at 7 p.m. at Caroline County Library, we will be talking Ghosts of Prisons Past. Judy Krasnow, founder of the Jackson Prison Tours, will be going into her experiences and tales of apparitions and spooky places. Next, we will be starting our Food for Fines program very soon, November 5th. During Food for Fines, patrons can bring in canned and dry foods to help feed the hungry while clearing overdue fines. Each item can be used towards $2 in library fines, up to $24. Donut items will be given to Gleaners Food Bank. So that's coming up soon. That's all for now. Thanks for your time, and see you at the library.
Thank you. Any more public community announcement?
Yes, hello. Mark Slater here from the Kiwanis Club, and just kind of a quick update from when I was here 2 weeks ago about the annual citywide Veterans Appreciation Dinner. We've had tremendous support, great groundswell of excitement for the event. There are spaces at Stitt Post for 200 people. And as of tonight, my wife, who's the box office, reports that we have 175 committed to coming. So there's only 25 more spaces, and we really want to fill the house. So residents, if we could get your support for this important event, we'd really appreciate it, and the veterans would appreciate it. We have over 30 veterans that are coming. In demonstration of the support from the community, the Dearborn Heights Firefighters Union has donated money to fund 10 of those veterans. We received word of that today. The Kiwanis is funding the other veterans that are coming, and the Kiwanis is also funding students to come from the local high schools, from Crestwood, Robichaud, and Annapolis. Robichaud High School, ROTC, will be presenting the colors. We have a excellent featured speaker. His name is John Todd, served in the Vietnam era as an Army officer. He was a gunship pilot, shot down twice, combat wounded, and has earned 17 medals, among those the Purple Heart, and also a very prestigious award in 2013 on a national basis, was named the Outstanding Disabled Veteran of the Year. And in his civilian life, he has been a professor of law at Rochester College here in Michigan for the past 39 years. And he has accomplished that while being blind from his wounds in combat. So if we as a city and a community could come out and support our veterans, it would be tremendous. Only 25 tickets are left. There's a great dinner, a great buffet dinner at the Stitt Post. Tickets are $20 per person, and Dearborn Heights veterans are free, sponsored by the Kiwanis. So please give us a call. As I said, my wife's the box office. The phone number is 313-561-5778. Again, 313-561-5778. And we'd really like to fill the hall with 25 more people.
Marking the date?
The date is Wednesday, November the 7th, 6:30 p.m. at the Stitt American Legion Post, which is located near the intersection of Warren and Telegraph. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you for supporting the veterans. Also, I'd like to thank the Kiwanis and the Fire Department Union. We appreciate it. Thank you. Any more public announcements?
I have something I forgot to say it earlier. I wanted to thank the fire department for the excellent open house they had a couple weekends ago. I took my family there, had a great time walking through the fire engines and the ambulance, and got a first-hand demonstration of the drone that they use. It's very impressive. Had a good time, free popcorn. It was just a great time all together. My kids didn't want to leave, but they had to. It was over at 2 o'clock, but my hats off to the fire department for a great time. Thank you.
Mr. McIntyre?
I'm going to have to pull this down. I'm certainly not as tall. I just wanted to remind folks that this Saturday is, I believe it's the 11th year that the Telljoy Shopping Plaza is having their Fall Harvest Fest. The most popular thing there, obviously, is the trunk or treat. We don't have as much participation this year, so we're still looking for folks that can come out and participate that way by being a trunk and handing out candies. Definitely some businesses that want to come out and use that opportunity to advertise their businesses. They're welcome to come. It's this Saturday, the 27th, from noon to 2. If you are interested in participating, you can get a hold of Mark Sobel. He's the manager of that shopping plaza. His phone number is area code 586-703-8581. I said it real slow because one of the things that we do all day long in ordinance is take phone numbers to return phone calls. And I can't tell you how all the time people, they say it really fast. So I'm not trying to be condescending, but one thing that I learned years ago is when you tell somebody a phone number, you say it as if you're writing it, because the person on the other end is actually going to be writing it. So I did want to mention something that I witnessed today. I'm not going to give you the specifics, but it involved John Riley and Marion from the HR department. I don't want to give the specifics, but it reminded me of a Dearborn Heights that I knew when I was a kid and a Dearborn Heights that I knew recently. People can say a lot of things and may have opinions about what people do on a daily basis, but what these two people did today reminded me that this is a city of people that do fantastic things for the people in the community. I don't want to sound like it's a mystery. I just want to be respectful of the person that they did this for. Really cool, John. And then I wanted to also mention today we were in court for a long afternoon today. Mr. Miyake was there. And, you know, the outcome in court, it's not always pleasant for a lot of people, especially if there's fines associated with it. Recently, there was a tree that was cut down without a permit, and between the property owner and the company that cut the tree down, it ended up costing about $6,000 in fines. But today was a better example of what we do on a daily basis, especially in the ordinance department, and I wanted to thank Mr. Miyake for. It was a terrible situation. It didn't seem like there was a good way to get out of it. It involves a resident that, you know, is struggling with some issues. So I wanted to say thank you, Gary, for the way that was all handled today. It was very classy the way you did it.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Announcements?
Captain Mark Meyer, sir, from the police department. I just want to let everybody know, the public, the council, Wednesday, November 7th, 1 p.m. we'll be performing a command change at our police department. Outgoing Chief Lee Gavin will be turning over the command to Deputy Chief Dan Voltatorni. It's open to the public. It'll be at the Justice Center, 1 p.m. Wednesday, November 7th. I hope people can attend.
Thank you. Any more public announcements? Okay. Now we open it to the public. Please come to the podium, state your name, address, and limit it to 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, this is my last council meeting, so I just want to come up here and express that I've had a very enjoyable career, 38 years with City of Dearborn Heights. I grew up in this city, I grew up with this city. So I just wanted to come here tonight and thank all the residents of our community. Hopefully over those 38 years I touched and I did good for somebody somewhere. I'm sure I did. I want to thank all the people that I've worked with, all the numerous officers, the fire department, council, especially Mayor Pletko. He's been the mayor over my 10 years as police chief. He lets us run the department with our experience the way we should. If something's out of line, sure, he gets involved, but he lets us run. You know, we got years of experience, years of training. It's not an easy job. I think you all know, I try to be open to everyone. I try to answer your calls. Everybody, we try to work as a team. So in the future, Chief Voltatorni is going to take over. I just hope the community, the council, the administration, everybody gives him the support that they gave me over the last 10 years as chief. He'll do a good job. I've truly enjoyed my career serving the residents of Dearborn Heights. Like I said, grew up here in the city, went to Crestwood, went to college, and I'm ending my career here. So I want to thank everyone again. I want to assure all our residents that the department is in good hands with Chief Voltatorni, Deputy Chief Mike Petrie, Captain Mark Myers that was up here, Captain Roy McMahon. We're going in the right direction and we have a good crew. So this will be my last meeting. I just want everyone to be aware that the next meeting I'll attend as a resident and I might have some questions for you guys. So thank you.
Thank you
and
for
thank
serving.
you our community for working with me and supporting me for the last 38 years.
Thank you for serving.
Any more public comments? Please step to the podium, state your name and address. Limit it to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Ned Apigyan. I live on Rosetta. And before I It's apropos. Luckily, as a former councilman, I have the chief's private cell phone number. And I needed it today. I locked myself out of my car. I didn't know what to do. So I called him. He called me back, tried to help me, pick me up, drive me home. But I saw a cab in the parking lot. I took a cab home. He called me and I said, I got the problem solved. Thank you very much. Anyway, I'd like to talk about the usual issue I talk about is trees. And it's not a matter of individuals cutting trees down when they're not supposed to and they don't have a permit. I see somebody got a fine. That's nice. I like that. The fine should be double and they won't do it. I noticed another tree being cut down in my neighborhood, 200 feet tall, 4 foot in diameter, double trunk. I just happened to be driving by. And then I followed up, since I know the people, I called Carol at DPW. Does their permit, is there this or that? Guess what? It's like I already said, that ordinance isn't worth the paper it's written on. I keep begging you to look at the one I brought. We need to do something. What's happening is the cities, even if you call for a permit, they're letting you cut the tree down. This tree wasn't bothering anybody. The guy wrote a check for $2,500. The same house we put handcuffs on the corner of Elizabeth, the guy cut down a grove. There was only one tree left in the front yard. He just said, I got to get rid of this one too. We need a system, and on the same street, and a week before, a resident wanted to expand his house, cut down a very large tree. I was surprised, but I saw he was making an addition. If you're making an addition, you should do that. You're an improvement, your driveway, a swimming pool. But if it's not bothering anybody or anything, you are, what's the point? You pay $60 for a guy to go there to see if the tree is dead, if it's storm damaged. If it's not bothering anybody, it's not in the way of your expansion, that tree is protected. You leave it alone. But what's happening now, there's some people that got more money than you could believe. Even Carol told me, they come in there and they write that check for $2,500 like it was paper. Now, if this is the Arbor City, you cannot allow that. You see what happened to Dockstader? All those big, giant houses? There used to be trees on Dockstader. If people think their neighborhood is enhanced because they're denuded all the trees, you're sadly mistaken. Please, give me a chance to give you that ordinance we talked about. If there's nothing wrong with it, you don't want to clean up the leaves, I'm sorry. That's a hardship that doesn't qualify. If you think it's going to fall on your house, well, that's why I got some so close to my house. It's unbelievable. I had a dead one for 3 years. I kept wishing that thing would come back alive. I finally had to cut it because I was worried. I planted it more than 45 years ago. It took that long. You're talking about legacy growths that take 200 years to grow, and people want to chop them down for no reason at all? That's what makes the neighborhoods charming. If you think Dockstader is charming with those gigantic houses, one more ugly than another, if you ask me, I'm an architect, but without trees, well, go to Plymouth Township. You can live with, have the sun beat on your head.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please call me.
Any more public? Councilman Muscat.
Only a citizen.
Good evening, Council Chair, Mayor, and distinguished council members. Ray Muscat, 26911 Havelock. Approximately 4 years ago, I contacted our building engineer, Dan Brooks, about flooding issues in the backyards in our subdivisions. And knowing that there's an engineered drainage tile system going through the entire subdivision, I've asked him to look into what's going on. Well, this year he did come out and look. Our backyards are so flooded when it rains, the water is just, it just gurgles and bubbles. We've sent him videos. My next door neighbors even added 35 yards of topsoil and can't control the flooding. Now, these engineered drainage systems were put in years ago to get rid of the water in the backyards. They're not working anymore. We've constantly asked about when are we going to get someone to look at. We need somebody from the DPW to look at this. I called DPW the one day when it was flooding here a few months ago. Nobody came out to look at it. It's just, there's a cover, a clean out cover in my neighbor's yard. They can't seem to find it, but it's just bubbling and gurgling, and it runs like a river through there. The water's just running from back to front like a river. So I'd like to know, when are we going to look at that, Mr. Brooks?
It's 3 minutes up.
I've discussed it with Mr. Zimmer. I don't have a timetable for you.
I mean, everybody's trying to enhance their properties, but we can't do it. Like I said, I've put in 20 yards of topsoil. I can't do any more. I mean, it's just, it's a waste of money. I'm throwing good money at bad, and the water just destroys everything. So we've got to find out why that water isn't leaving the backyards when there's an engineered drainage system that was put in when that subdivision was built. That needs to be fixed somehow, some way. And it doesn't do me a bit of good if I dig up my property, look at that drainage tile and replace it if it happens to be broken, if nobody else does. So I'm asking the city engineer and DPW to come up with a solution for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Yeah. Please.
Good evening. My name is Hassan Bazzi. I live on Sheehan. Actually, I wasn't going to speak, but I would like to say a couple words here on my behalf, on my family behalf, on my friends' behalf. I would like to extend my sincere thanks for the Chief of Police for the service he put in the city all these years. And we see in the movies how easy the policemen life sometimes, but in reality, it's really very dangerous. They put their life on the line. I really want to say thank you for all these years and wish the new chief best of luck. And I can speak on a group of people in this community that will be available to work with the new chief, and wish him the best of luck, and the best of luck for the leaving chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I guess next one is adjourned. Do we hear a second?
Move to adjourn.
A second.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.